Morning, everybody. My name is Maxwell Jensen. I'm 14 years old. My pronouns are he, him, and his. For this speech, I was gonna just revise my faith statement, to be honest. But when I looked back on it, I found that in just 5 months, I've grown so much. A few reasons, or a few things that are examples of how I've grown. A, height-wise, I'm a little taller. But then also, I'm a lot less I am a lot more conscious of the decisions I make now than just 5 months ago in the spring. And I wanted to talk about this, and I feel one of the reasons that I've grown so much over the past 5 months is during the summer, the UU Church gave me the opportunity to travel to Decorah, Iowa, and attend the Youth Midwest Leadership School. This was one of the most interesting and fun weeks of my entire life. I've learned so much from it, and I grew a lot from the experiences. I also picked up a lot of interesting skills from members of the UU communities around the Midwest. For example, I learned about the history of the Unitarians and the Universalists and their destined path to conjoin. From a group leader in Indiana, I made friends from Nebraska, Missouri, and yes, even Minnesota. All these people came together just like we do Sundays, 3 times a day. We perform small sermons, 15 minutes or less. And it just so happens that the team I presented with talked about growth and development. And this skit we performed, Max and Where the Wild Things Are. Ironic, I know. But it was a good ending sermon because the week I spent at Luther College's campus, it was a really monumental spiritual growth moment for me, learning that in just a week I can accomplish a task of learning about the UU faith and having a lot of fun.
Good morning. My name is Heidi Lockman, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. As I read in the Soul Matters packet this month, vision is the practice of intentional imagination. I've been doing that a lot lately, and am pleased to have this opportunity to share a reflection with you. Back in June, I attended a mission statement workshop as part of my job. We were encouraged to examine our why and write one sentence describing our life purpose. I refined a statement I had written a few summers ago, but hadn't been fully living. Now, my words are concise and active. I can recite my purpose statement from memory, and I consider each day whether I'm living in alignment with my mission, which is to connect with other seekers to create lives of intention. To me, the meaning in life comes from relationships. Connecting with others who are curious and engaged is energizing. I believe in asking questions, exploring together, and finding synergy. I don't want to let my life just happen. That feels careless and wasteful to me. Instead, I want to actively guide it toward personal and family goals, taking in new experiences as fuel to make myself a better person and to make the world a better place. My mentor at work pushed me to think about how I am living up to my mission. I shared a couple of tangible examples. I enjoy group exercise and yoga, encouraging others with my mantra, "You can't do today's workout tomorrow." I made the decision to attend our UUA General Assembly with Todd's cousin so we could reconnect and also engage with other UUs. My advisor then asked me, "What else?" I took a deep breath and decided to divulge a wild idea that has been brewing within our family for over 10 years, to go on a 3-month sabbatical to New Zealand. I brainstormed and shared a list of pros and cons, and the outcome was clear. Why wouldn't we do this? I realized the time was now or never. I needed to step into my mission and be intentional about our dream. We addressed the two biggest barriers. Could Tevka and Torin miss 3 months of high school without missing required curriculum? And then, would Business Solver allow me to take a leave of absence? Both responses were yes. Asking these questions took focus and courage, but I discovered that being clear on what's important to me and knowing it fits my mission makes it much easier to be bold about pursuing our family vision of shared time away from day-to-day life. We booked tickets 2 weeks ago for our 3-month stay in New Zealand. We'll depart on December 24th and turn up down under the day after Christmas. Tevka, Torin, Todd, and I are looking forward to an unforgettable adventure. Of course, I'm excited to have the opportunity to refresh my perspective before the next stage of life. I know we'll have challenges and surprises, but that's all part of the journey. And I'll remain centered by relying on my mission statement for direction while we're in New Zealand, knowing that what I care about most is connecting with other seekers to create lives of intention. Thank you.
I'm Karen Lauer, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I've spent the past 18 months heavily immersed in immigration justice advocacy. It's been a difficult time for the immigrant community as hateful anti-immigrant rhetoric became mainstream. Our government took children away from their parents, and Iowa passed a law built on fear of immigrants. I've always been someone who angered quickly at injustice. I thought I could get people to not only see my point of view, but recognize the glory of its righteousness, and perhaps repent their own misinformed stance along the way, if I just bombarded them with enough facts, used my acerbic wit and sharp tongue to show them the error of their ways. Yeah, we all know how effective that is. But as the months wore on, I became exhausted. With anger as my motivation, my entire worldview was tainted, from the articles I chose to read to how I moved in the world. I became unwilling to listen to opposing ideas, to vilify vast numbers of people, think political conservatives, to feel myself consumed with anger, hatred, and fear. To paraphrase one of our most revered sages, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. It is the path to the dark side. So I began to look for a different way. How could I sustain myself and stay true to my values? I read more deeply about our UU principles and how to live my faith in the world, and I was reminded of the phrase, "We need not think alike to love alike." And I realized that I can choose to approach the world with an open hand instead of a closed fist. If we are called to respect others' search for truth and meaning, to respect the dignity of every human being, then doesn't that include everyone? No exceptions? Now, I'm not excusing people who intentionally harm others, whether through policy or deed, in some kind of misguided kumbaya moment. But by entering justice work through the lens of love and respect instead of conflict, I keep myself open to relationships, understanding, and compromise, to recognizing that others don't need to share my opinions in order to be worthy of dignity and respect. I had a chance to try this out at the Capitol this past spring. While waiting with a handful of other protesters outside the subcommittee hearing on Senate File 481, and feeling upset and agitated that the Republican chairman of the committee refused to allow any of us in to hear the discussion, I struck up a conversation with a page for a Republican representative from Western Iowa. Before we got much past the niceties, his legislator came to check on the hearing, and I thought, here's my chance. I introduced myself. He could tell I opposed the bill. My cardboard sign kind of gave me away. Before I could take a breath, this representative launched into the Republican talking points about undocumented immigrants. I think he was afraid that I was going to lob my own talking points at him and was trying to head me off at the pass. But instead of anger, I felt a surprising calmness. Instead of forming comebacks to his points, I listened, really listened. And we began to have a real conversation about national immigration policy, the need for immigrants to be able to attain legal status. I want a path to citizenship. He spoke of work permits. The longer we talked, the more we understood each other. His constituents are afraid and believe immigrants are one cause of their woes. I believe that we are all one family, deserving of dignity and respect. He was no longer just a far-right extremist Republican, and I wasn't just a left-wing nut job. He glanced at his watch, shook my hand, and said, "I can see you're a good Christian woman." I think if all politicians could sit in a room together and talk things through like this, we could find a compromise. I looked him in the eye and said, "Well, I'm an atheist and a Unitarian Universalist, but you may be right." My vision for myself, for our country, for the world, is to lead with love. And with all the frightening, angering, and inhumane actions happening in our country now, this certainly isn't easy. It's hard work, and I often fail, but I can't let my anger turn into hatred, because as Dr. King said, hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that. I've placed this quote from Valerie Carr, the founder of Revolutionary Love, on my refrigerator as a reminder. Our greatest test is whether we can still see the humanity of the people who hurt us. For when we are hurt, we will want to hate. But when we hate the ones who hurt us, we become the darkness that haunts our dreams. Love shines a light. Love returns us to the path. Love makes us brave.